My beloved child, stop and let these words reach you before the noise pulls you somewhere else. You did not come here because you are weak. You came here because something inside has been searching for peace, clarity, and a reason to keep moving forward. I know the questions you have carried quietly. I know the memories that return when the room becomes still. I know there are moments when you wonder whether the love you once held so closely has truly disappeared. Hear me now. Love does not become meaningless simply because a season ends. This moment feels different, not because you must be afraid and not because something terrible is waiting around the corner. This moment matters because your heart has finally become quiet enough to hear what fear kept interrupting. You have spent too much time being strong for everyone else. You have smiled while carrying grief. You have answered people while your own heart was asking questions. You have gone to bed tired, yet your mind kept returning to the same person, the same memory, the same unfinished conversation. I have seen every one of those nights. My beloved child, do not rush away from this. Breathe slowly. Let your shoulders loosen. You do not need to solve your whole life right now. You only need to listen. There are things I have been teaching you through silence that you could not understand while you were fighting to control everything. Some lessons arrive like thunder. Others arrive like morning light through a curtain, slowly revealing what was already in the room. This is one of those quieter moments. I am not asking you to panic. I am asking you to become present. You have wondered whether the person you loved knew how deeply you cared. You have replayed words you wish you had said differently. You have remembered days you would give anything to revisit. Sometimes grief makes the past feel unfinished, as if one more conversation could finally make everything right. But listen to me. You are not meant to spend the rest of your life standing at a closed door, punishing yourself for what cannot be changed. The love you gave was real. The memories were real. What mattered between you was not erased. There is something else I want you to understand. Grief can make ordinary moments feel like messages. A familiar song can stop you in the middle of a room. A certain scent can bring back a face you have not seen in years. A dream can leave you emotional long after you wake. Do not be ashamed of that. Your heart remembers through small things. Let those moments turn you toward gratitude, prayer, and healing instead of fear. You do not need to chase signs to know that love shaped you. You can bring every memory to me. Remember how the psalmist spoke of walking through the valley and still finding that I was near. The valley was real, the fear was real, yet so was my presence. That is where you are now. You may still be walking through something you did not choose, but you are not walking through it unseen. I have not lost track of you. Your tears have not made you invisible. Your confusion has not pushed me away. Even when your prayers were only silence, I understood what your heart was trying to say. My beloved child, there is also a quiet urgency here, but it is not the urgency of disaster. It is the urgency of your life continuing. You cannot stay forever in the place where pain first found you. There are people who still need your kindness. There are mornings you have not yet seen. There are conversations waiting for the wiser version of you. There are decisions ahead that will require a calmer heart. The past deserves honor, but it does not deserve control over every day that remains. So stop measuring your life by what you lost. Stop assuming that because something precious ended, everything meaningful ended with it. I am still working within your story. You may not see the full shape of it yet. That does not mean nothing is happening. A seed underground looks like silence before it looks like growth. A dark sky before sunrise can make you think night has won, but morning does not need your permission to come. In the same way, healing often begins before you feel strong enough to name it. If your heart is heavy right now, place one hand over your chest and take another slow breath. You are here right now. You are still capable of love. You are still capable of faith. You are still capable of beginning again. Do not dismiss that as something small. Some of the most important changes in a life begin with one honest moment when a person stops running from what hurts and finally brings it into the light. I want you to hear this without pressure. You do not have to prove anything to me today. You do not have to earn comfort. You do not have to force yourself to feel better before you are ready. I am asking only for honesty. Tell me what you miss. Tell me what you regret. Tell me what still makes you angry. Tell me what you wish had happened differently. Prayer does not become less sacred because it is messy. Sometimes the truest prayer is simply, God, I do not know what to do with this pain, and I will meet you there. My beloved child, stay with me a little longer, because this is only the beginning of what you need to understand. Before we speak about what must be released, you first need to know that your grief is not a punishment, your memories are not a weakness, and your future has not been canceled. The person you loved mattered. The life you shared mattered. But your life still matters too. Do not close your heart because loss frightened you. Do not let yesterday convince you that tomorrow has nothing left to give. I am still here. I am still speaking through truth, through scripture, through wise people, through quiet conviction, and through the peace that grows when you stop fighting me. For this moment, simply receive that. You are seen. You are loved. You are not finished. And now, my beloved child, we can begin to look at what has been quietly draining your peace and keeping your heart tied to places I am asking you to release. My beloved child, now that you have allowed yourself to stop running from what hurts, I want to show you why love can still reach you without keeping you trapped in yesterday. You have spent enough nights wondering whether the bond you shared disappeared the moment that person left this life. You have asked whether the memories mean you are moving backward. You have wondered whether missing someone deeply means you are refusing to heal. Hear me. Love and healing are not enemies. You can carry what was beautiful without living inside what is gone. There are memories. A laugh you still hear in your mind. A phrase they always used. A place you pass and suddenly remember an afternoon. Grief has a strange way of making simple things glow after someone is gone. Do not punish yourself for that. The heart does not erase love on command. It learns how to hold love differently. What once lived beside you in daily routines may later live within gratitude, wisdom, tenderness, and the way you choose to treat other people. My beloved child, this is where I want to protect you from confusion. You do not need to turn every memory into a prediction or every coincidence into a message from beyond. You do not need to chase a song, a dream, a name, or a feeling in order to prove that the person mattered. Their life already mattered. Their love already left an imprint. And when a memory comes, you can simply receive it, breathe, thank me for what was good, and let it soften you rather than control you. Remember what Jesus said about love when he taught his friends to remain in it. Love was never presented as a force that makes you cling to fear. Love leads toward truth, courage, service, and peace. If the love you remember only makes you afraid to move forward, then grief has begun speaking louder than love. But if the memory makes you more patient, more compassionate, more honest, and more awake, then something sacred is being carried forward in a healthy way. You have worried that moving forward might feel like betrayal. Part of you may believe that laughing again means you have forgotten. Resting again may feel disloyal. Opening your heart to new friendship may feel as if you are replacing someone who cannot be replaced. My beloved child, that is not what healing means. Healing does not erase a person. It releases you from the idea that suffering is the only proof that you love them. You do not honor love by remaining wounded forever. You honor it by allowing what was good to keep producing good within you. This is why love can still reach you. Not because you must live waiting for supernatural proof, but because love leaves responsibility behind. It asks what you will do with what you received. Will you become softer or more bitter? Will you become more present or more afraid? Will you close your heart because loss hurt, or will you love more wisely because you now understand that time is precious? These are not small questions. They are part of the way grief becomes wisdom instead of a permanent prison. My beloved child, I know there are things you wish you could change. Maybe you missed a call. Maybe the last conversation ended badly. Maybe you were busy when you wish you had stayed longer. Maybe there were words you never said because you assumed there would be another day. Your mind can replay those moments until regret begins pretending it has the right to judge your entire relationship. Do not let one unfinished moment erase years of love. Love can be real, even when the ending was incomplete. Bring that regret to me. Do not hide it behind spiritual language. Tell me exactly what hurts. Tell me what you wish you had done. Tell me what you fear they misunderstood. Then let me teach you the difference between repentance and self-punishment. Repentance can guide you toward a wiser life. Self-punishment only keeps reopening the wound. If there is something you can still repair with someone living, repair it. If there is something you can learn, learn it. But if the moment cannot be changed, stop demanding from yourself a power no human being has. Scripture tells of people who grieved deeply and still continued walking with me. David wept. Martha questioned. The disciples felt shattered when they thought hope had ended. I did not shame them for feeling loss. I met them inside it. I still do. Faith does not require you to pretend that absence does not hurt. Faith gives you somewhere to bring the hurt so it does not become the ruler of your future. You can cry and still trust. You can miss someone and still move. You can remember and still grow. My beloved child, I want you to notice something else. The love you received from them may have revealed needs in you that are still tender. Maybe they made you feel safe in a way you have not felt since. Maybe they were the person who listened without judging. Maybe they believed in you when you could not believe in yourself. Their absence may have exposed places where you now feel unprotected, unseen, or uncertain. That does not mean you are broken. It means there are parts of your life that now need care-wise support, prayer, and patience. That is one reason I am asking you not to close your heart. Grief can make you suspicious of attachment. It can whisper that loving deeply is dangerous because everything can be lost. But protecting yourself from every future connection will not honor the person you loved. It will only make loss continue taking things from you. You can have boundaries without becoming cold. You can remember without becoming stuck. You can move slowly without refusing to move at all. So when love reaches you through a memory, let it remind you to live. Call someone while you still can. Forgive where wisdom allows. Rest when your body is tired. Speak honestly. Stop postponing tenderness. Pray for the people you still have. Make room for laughter without apologizing for it. These ordinary choices are often where healing becomes visible, not in dramatic signs, but in the quiet moment when you realize pain no longer makes every decision for you. My beloved child, that is where we are going next. Because once you understand that love can remain without controlling your future, you are ready to notice what has been quietly draining your strength. Some burdens belong to grief. Others come from fear, guilt, unhealthy relationships, old expectations and habits you kept because pain made them feel familiar. I will help you tell the difference. For now, hold this gently. You do not need to forget in order to heal. You do not need to suffer in order to prove that you loved. What was good can remain good. What was painful can be surrendered. And the love that shaped you can become courage for the life still waiting in front of you. My beloved child, now that you understand love does not require you to remain trapped in sorrow, I want you to look gently at what has been draining you. Some burdens announce themselves loudly. Others sit quietly in the background and take strength from you every day. You wake up tired after sleeping. You answer people with patience, then feel empty when the room becomes quiet. You keep moving, but inside something feels heavy. I have seen that weight, and I want you to name it without shame. Maybe part of it is grief. Not the sharp grief that makes you cry immediately, but the quieter kind that follows you into ordinary moments. It appears when you reach for your phone and remember there is no one to call. It sits beside you during holidays, birthdays, or familiar routines. It can make a peaceful evening feel strangely lonely. My beloved child, grief does not always shout. Sometimes it whispers through exhaustion, distraction, impatience, or the sudden desire to withdraw from everyone. Do not confuse those signals with weakness. They are invitations to care for what still hurts. But grief may not be the only thing draining you. There may be guilt you keep carrying because you think releasing it would mean avoiding responsibility. You replay what you should have said, what you should have noticed, what you should have done sooner. You keep holding an invisible trial inside your mind, and you are both the accused and the judge. Every time the memory returns, you reopen the case. Hear me clearly. Wisdom can come from regret, but endless self-accusation does not make you holy. It only keeps your heart too tired to receive grace. There may also be financial pressure you rarely speak about, bills that sit in the back of your mind while you are trying to pray, a decision you keep postponing because you are afraid of choosing wrong, a future expense that makes your chest tighten. You may smile in front of other people while calculating what you can afford, what you must delay, and how long you can keep carrying the same pressure. My beloved child, I see practical fear too. Faith does not require pretending money never matters. It asks you to bring fear into truth and make wise decisions without letting panic become your master. Sometimes what drains you is not a problem you can point to, but a person you keep giving access to. Someone who leaves you confused after every conversation. someone whose kindness changes depending on what they need from you, someone who makes you question your memory, your boundaries, or your worth. You may keep excusing what hurts because you are afraid of losing another connection after already losing someone you loved. Be careful here. Grief can make unhealthy closeness feel safer than honest distance. Loneliness can convince you to tolerate what peace would never ask you to tolerate. My beloved child, I am not telling you to suspect everyone. I am telling you to notice what happens inside you. After certain conversations, do you feel settled or scattered? Do you feel respected or reduced? Do you explain yourself to someone who has already decided not to understand? Do you give because love is moving through you, or because you are afraid they will leave if you stop? These questions matter. Healthy love may challenge you, but it does not require you to abandon yourself in order to keep it. Jesus once invited the weary to come close and receive rest. Notice that he did not say, carry everything alone until you collapse, and then prove your faith by smiling. Rest begins when you stop pretending the burden is lighter than it is. That may mean admitting you are tired. It may mean asking for help. It may mean turning off the phone earlier, speaking with someone wise, changing a habit, or saying no without writing a long defense. Sometimes spiritual maturity looks less dramatic than people expect. Sometimes it looks like going to bed before your thoughts become cruel. There are also expectations draining you. You thought you would be further along by now. You thought healing would happen faster. You thought prayer would make certain emotions disappear. You thought strong faith meant never feeling afraid again. So when the sadness returns, you judge yourself. When anxiety visits you, assume you have failed. My beloved child, growth is not measured by never feeling pain. It is measured by learning what to do when pain arrives. You are growing when you can feel the ache without obeying every thought it creates. Think about Elijah when exhaustion made everything look darker than it was. Before there was a new assignment, there was rest, food, quiet, and the reminder that he was not abandoned. I want you to remember that pattern. Sometimes your spirit does not need another answer. Sometimes your body needs sleep. Sometimes your mind needs silence. Sometimes your heart needs one honest conversation instead of another night of pretending. I can work through ordinary care. Do not despise simple things because they do not feel spectacular. My beloved child, pay attention to what you repeatedly use to escape yourself. Endless scrolling. Staying busy so you never sit still. Replaying old conversations. Checking whether someone has responded. Looking at photographs until gratitude becomes punishment. Filling every quiet moment with noise because silence might bring a memory. None of these things make you a bad person. They may simply be ways you learn to survive. But what helped you survive one season can drain you in the next if you never examine it. I want you to ask yourself one question tonight. What leaves me with less peace than I had before? Do not rush the answer. Maybe it is a habit. Maybe it is a relationship. Maybe it is an old promise you made to yourself in pain, like never trusting again, never needing anyone, or always staying strong. Maybe it is the belief that if you stop worrying, something bad will happen. Name it gently. You cannot surrender what you refuse to recognize, and do not become afraid when you see it. Recognition is not condemnation. Light does not enter a room to shame what was hidden. It enters so you can finally see where to walk. I am not showing you these things to overwhelm you. I am showing you because you are ready to live with more freedom than you have allowed yourself to imagine. My beloved child, this is the next step. You have honored the love. You have admitted the grief. Now you must become honest about what keeps stealing the peace I am trying to grow within you. Some things will need boundaries. Some will need forgiveness. Some will need practical change. Some will simply need to be placed into my hands again and again until your heart learns it no longer has to carry them alone. Stay close, because next I will show you how to stop protecting the very things that disturb your peace and how to open your hands without fear when it is time to let them go. My beloved child, now that you have begun to recognize what has been draining your peace, I want you to do something different. Do not fight every burden with more effort. Do not tighten your grip because fear tells you everything will fall apart if you stop controlling it. Open your hands before me. There are things you were never meant to carry alone, and some things cannot be healed by more thinking. This is the moment to stop guarding what is hurting you, and let me begin clearing what no longer belongs in your heart. You have tried to protect yourself by staying alert, You watch people closely. You replay conversations. You prepare for disappointment before anything happens. Part of you believes expecting the worst will make disappointment hurt less. But constant suspicion does not create safety. It creates exhaustion. My beloved child, wisdom pays attention, but fear keeps watch all night. I do not want you living as if every relationship is a threat and every delay is a warning. Let me teach you how to discern without becoming afraid of everyone. There may be someone whose presence has disturbed your peace for too long. Maybe they speak kindly in public but leave you confused in private. Maybe they apologize without changing. Maybe they only reach for you when they need comfort, money, attention, or access. You have noticed the pattern, but you keep explaining it away because losing another person feels unbearable. Hear me carefully. You do not have to hate someone to stop giving them unlimited access. You can forgive and still create distance. You can pray for someone and still close a door that keeps injuring you. This is where surrender becomes practical. It is not a dramatic sentence you say once and then forget. Surrender may look like deleting a message you keep rereading. It may look like refusing to check whether someone noticed your silence. It may mean admitting a connection has changed and deserves a different place in your life. It may mean asking for wise counsel before making another emotional decision. My beloved child, when you place something in my hands, do not immediately take it back because the silence feels uncomfortable. Remember how Jesus slept in the boat while the storm frightened everyone. The storm was real, but panic was not the only possible response. His peace did not deny the wind. It revealed that fear did not have to become the ruler of the moment. I want that kind of steadiness to grow in you. Not a life without storms, but a heart that knows where to turn when the waves rise. You do not need to command every outcome. You need to stay close to me while you make the next faithful decision. So pray honestly. Say, God, show me what I am holding that you are asking me to release. Show me where fear has disguised itself as loyalty. Show me where guilt has disguised itself as responsibility. Show me where loneliness has made me tolerate what damages my peace. Give me courage to see clearly and humility to admit when I have been protecting a pattern simply because it feels familiar. A prayer like that is not weakness. It is an invitation for truth to enter places you have kept locked. And when truth comes, do not expect it always to arrive dramatically. Sometimes you will notice that your body relaxes when you stop answering a certain argument. Sometimes you will realize that a week has passed without checking the thing that used to control your attention. Sometimes peace will come through conversation with someone trustworthy. Sometimes clarity will arrive when you finally sleep. I can guide you through quiet conviction as surely as through a moment that feels powerful. Do not overlook small evidence of freedom. There are also burdens that are not about other people. You may be carrying an old image of yourself, the version who failed, the version who stayed too long, the version who was not there when someone needed you, the version who made a financial mistake or trusted the wrong person. You keep facing the future through the language of your worst season. My beloved child, that is another disturbance I want to clear. You are responsible for learning from yesterday, but you are not required to remain imprisoned by it. Paul wrote about leaving behind what was behind and reaching toward what was ahead. That did not mean forgetting wounds or pretending the past had no lessons. It meant refusing to make yesterday the final authority over tomorrow. I want you to understand that difference. Memory can teach you without owning you. Regret can humble you without naming you. Loss can deepen you without becoming the only story you tell. When you surrender the past, you are not saying it did not matter. You are saying it will not command every step that comes next. My beloved child, you may feel resistance as you hear this because part of you has learned to associate control with survival. You think that if you stop monitoring everything, you will miss danger. If you stop worrying, you will become careless. If you stop replaying the past, you will repeat it. But wisdom does not require torment. You can learn and still rest. You can notice patterns and still sleep. You can make boundaries without rehearsing arguments in your head. Peace is not ignorance. Peace is clarity without panic. Take one slow breath now and name one thing you are willing to place before me. Do not choose 10 things. Choose one. One relationship, one fear, one regret, one habit, one unanswered question. Hold it in your mind, then tell me the truth about it. You can say, God, I do not know how to fix this, but I no longer want it controlling me. Show me what is mine to do and what I need to release. Give me enough light for the next step, not the whole road. That is how peace begins to return. Not because every problem disappears instantly, but because you stop treating every problem as if it must live inside your chest. Some matters require action. Some require patience. Some require boundaries. Some require forgiveness. Some simply require acceptance that you cannot rewrite what has already happened. I will help you tell the difference if you remain honest and willing. My beloved child, do not be afraid if clearing your peace changes your relationships. When you stop over-explaining, some people may call you distant. When you stop rescuing everyone, some may say you have changed. When you stop returning to conversations that only reopen wounds, someone may accuse you of being cold. Stay humble, but do not surrender healthy clarity simply because someone dislikes your boundary. You are making room now, room to breathe, room to pray, room to hear truth without fear shouting over it. And as that space opens, the next thing I want to show you is how betrayal and old pain can keep your hands closed even after the danger has passed. We will not carry that bitterness into what comes next. My beloved child, you have begun making room for peace, and I want you to look at one of the hardest things to release: betrayal. Not because I want you to reopen every wound, but because some wounds keep shaping your choices long after the person who caused them has left. You may think you moved on because you stopped talking about what happened, but silence is not always freedom. Sometimes pain simply changes its hiding place. It becomes suspicion, distance, anger, or the quiet belief that everyone will eventually hurt you. You remember what it felt like to trust someone and discover they were not carrying your heart with the same care you gave theirs. Maybe they lied. Maybe they disappeared when you needed them. Maybe they used your kindness until you had nothing left to offer. Maybe they spoke about you in rooms where you were not present. My beloved child, betrayal can make you question more than another person. It can make you question your judgment, your goodness, and whether love is safe at all. That is why I am asking you not to carry the wound into every new room. Wisdom should travel with you. Bitterness should not. There is a difference. Wisdom remembers the lesson. Bitterness assumes the lesson applies to everyone. Wisdom watches patterns. Bitterness expects betrayal before anyone has earned distrust. Wisdom can say no. Bitterness says no to life itself. I do not want what happened to you to become the lens through which you see everything that has not happened yet. Joseph knew what betrayal felt like. His own brothers sold him and left him to a future they did not care to understand. Yet his story did not end in the pit. What others intended for harm did not receive final authority over his life. My beloved child, I am not telling you that every betrayal will produce a dramatic reversal. I am telling you that another person's failure does not have to become the permanent definition of your future. You may still feel anger, and anger can tell you something important. It can reveal where a boundary was violated. It can show you what must never be normalized again. But anger was never meant to become your permanent home. If you build your identity around what someone did to you, they continue occupying space inside you even after they are gone. Release does not mean approving what happened. It means refusing to let the wound keep directing your life. Forgiveness can begin quietly. Start with honesty. Tell me, God, I am still hurt. I still think about it. I still wish they had understood what they did. Then ask me to remove the desire to keep punishing them in your mind. You do not need to force warm feelings towards someone who harmed you. Forgiveness can be the decision to stop feeding the bitterness, while wisdom keeps the boundary. My beloved child, you may also need to release the fantasy that closure must come from the person who hurt you. Some people will never explain themselves. Some will apologize only when consequences arrive. Some will deny what happened. Some may never understand the damage they caused. If your healing depends entirely on their honesty, you have given them too much power. Closure can begin when you accept that truth does not become less true because someone refuses to admit it. And then there is the fear of what comes next. You may say you want new relationships, new opportunities, new beginnings, but part of you keeps both hands around the old wound. You compare every new person with the one who betrayed you. You search for familiar danger before you allow unfamiliar goodness to speak. My beloved child, I understand why. Your heart is trying to protect you, but protection becomes a prison when nothing new is allowed to enter. Open your hands slowly. You do not have to trust everyone. You do not have to ignore red flags. You do not have to prove that you are healed by becoming careless. Let trust grow through consistency. Let character reveal itself over time. Let people earn access through honesty, patience, and respect. Healthy openness is not blindness. It is the courage to remain available to good things without abandoning discernment. Jesus told his followers to be wise and innocent. Hold those two together. Do not become naive, but do not become hardened. You can learn from betrayal without becoming suspicious of every smile. You can protect your peace without building walls so high that love cannot enter. You can move carefully without standing still. This balance is part of maturity, and I will teach you as you keep bringing your fear to me. My beloved child, there may be opportunities ahead that do not look like what you lost. A friendship may come from an unexpected place. Someone may treat you with a steadiness you are not used to. A work opportunity may require you to speak with confidence again. A conversation may remind you that not everyone is trying to take something from you. Do not force these things and do not turn them into signs. Simply stay awake enough to notice when something healthy is standing in front of you. What comes next in your life does not need to copy what came before. New does not mean replacement. It means life continuing. You are allowed to build again. You are allowed to laugh with someone new without betraying the person you lost. You are allowed to trust after being deceived. You are allowed to enjoy an opportunity after a season of disappointment. You are allowed to receive without feeling guilty that someone else once took advantage of your giving. Take a breath and ask yourself what betrayal taught you that is worth keeping. Maybe it taught you to slow down before trusting. Maybe it taught you to notice whether actions match words. Maybe it taught you that saying no can be loving. Keep the wisdom. Now ask what betrayal planted that needs to go. Maybe constant suspicion. Maybe revenge. Maybe the belief that you were foolish for loving deeply. Maybe the fear that you will always choose wrong. Give those things to me. My beloved child, releasing betrayal is not one dramatic moment. It is often a series of small choices. Not checking their page, not rehearsing the argument, not telling the story again just to feel the anger rise, not using one person's behavior to judge the next person, choosing sleep instead of another hour of mental debate, choosing prayer instead of imaginary revenge, choosing a boundary instead of another explanation. As you make those choices, space begins to open. And when space opens, something else often rises to the surface. Not anger at them, but anger at yourself. You begin asking why you did not see it sooner. Why you stayed, why you trusted, why you ignored what now seems obvious. That is where we are going next. Because, my beloved child, after betrayal is released, the heart often discovers the deeper wound underneath it, the wound of self-blame. And I do not want you walking into a new season while still punishing yourself for being human. My beloved child, now that you have begun releasing what others did to you, I want to bring you to the place that is often harder to face. The place where you still blame yourself. You may have forgiven people who disappointed you, yet your mind still turns against you. You ask why you stayed so long, why you trusted, why you did not notice sooner, why you did not say more before someone you loved was gone. You keep returning to moments that cannot be changed, hoping punishment will somehow become repair. I know that pattern. I know how regret can sound reasonable when it first speaks. It tells you that if you judge yourself harshly enough, you will become wiser. It tells you that letting go would mean what happened did not matter. My beloved child, that is not how grace works. Grace does not erase responsibility. Grace teaches you to face the truth without turning the truth into a weapon against your own heart. There are things you would do differently now. Maybe you would have asked one more question. Maybe you would have stayed for one more conversation. Maybe you would have walked away sooner from someone who kept hurting you. Maybe you would have apologized before pride made the distance wider. Growth often makes yesterday look obvious because today you can see what you could not see then. Do not use present wisdom to condemn the person you were when you had less clarity. My beloved child, think about Peter. He promised courage, then fear exposed him. He denied Jesus when pressure became real. Yet Jesus did not meet him after the resurrection with humiliation. He met him with a question about love and then gave him responsibility again. Failure was acknowledged, but it was not allowed to become the final name over Peter's life. I want you to understand that same difference. Conviction says this needs to change. Condemnation says you are beyond change. Conviction leads you toward truth. Condemnation keeps you circling the same memory until you no longer believe you deserve peace. If you harmed someone and there is a wise way to make amends, do it. If you need to apologize, apologize. But once you have taken the step that belongs to you, do not keep inventing punishments I never asked you to carry. You replay the last phone call, the hospital visit, the day you were too tired to answer, the argument that now feels too large because there will never be another chance to explain. You wish you had known how little time remained. My beloved child, human beings do not live with perfect knowledge of tomorrow. You loved with the understanding you had then. You made choices inside ordinary days, not knowing which moments would later become sacred in memory. Do not turn that limitation into a crime. You may have said, if I had only done more, maybe things would be different. Sometimes that thought is grief trying to bargain with reality. It creates an imaginary version of the past where you had complete control. But you did not control every decision, every illness, every timing, every outcome, or every heart around you. Humility means accepting both what was yours and what was never yours. You are responsible for your choices. You are not responsible for being all-powerful. My beloved child, bring the specific memory to me. Not the polished version, the real one. Tell me what happened. Tell me what you wish you had said. Tell me where you were selfish, afraid, distracted, or simply unaware. Then stay long enough to hear mercy after honesty. Too many people confess and then run back into punishment before they allow grace to speak. I do not expose a wound so you can keep cutting it open. I expose it so truth can clean it and healing can begin. Remember the woman brought before Jesus while everyone around her was prepared to define her by failure. He did not pretend sin was meaningless, but neither did he join the crowd in destroying her. He made room for truth and a different future. That is important for you. Mercy is not permission to repeat what harmed you. Mercy is permission to stop believing your worst moment must control every future moment. You may need to forgive the version of yourself who was lonely, the version who ignored warning signs because being chosen felt better than being alone, the version who kept helping because you thought love meant never disappointing anyone, the version who stayed silent because conflict frightened you, the version who spent money trying to relieve stress or delayed a decision because fear made every option look dangerous. You can learn from that person without hating that person. My beloved child, speak to yourself with the same honesty and patience you would offer someone you deeply love. Not excuses, not denial, compassion joined with truth. Say, I should have handled that differently and I can choose differently now. Say, I did not know what I know today. Say, I cannot rewrite that day, but I can let it teach me how to live this one. This is how regret becomes wisdom instead of a cage. There may also be things you blame yourself for that were never yours to carry. Someone else's addiction, someone else's betrayal, someone else's refusal to change, someone else's decision to leave. You may keep asking what you could have done to make them stay, become honest, get help, or choose differently. My beloved child, love can influence another person, but love cannot control another person's will. Stop taking ownership of choices that belong to someone else. Take a slow, steady breath right now. Ask yourself what sentence you keep repeating against yourself. Maybe it is, I ruined everything. Maybe I should have known. Maybe I was not enough. Maybe I failed them. Hold that sentence up to the light. Is it completely true? Or is pain turning one part of the story into the whole story? Let me replace exaggeration with truth. You may have failed in something without being a failure. You may have missed something without losing your worth. You may have been hurt without becoming permanently broken. My beloved child, forgiveness is not forgetting. It is releasing the right to keep sentencing yourself for a case that has already taught you what it needed to teach. It is choosing to become responsible without becoming cruel. It is allowing me to use even painful memories as soil for humility, patience, stronger boundaries, and deeper compassion. And when you stop punishing yourself, you will notice something else. Some connections have remained alive only because guilt kept feeding them. Some doors stay open because you believe closing them would make you selfish. Some relationships continue because you confuse obligation with love. That is where we are going next. You have looked honestly at what others did. You have looked honestly at what you did. Now, my beloved child, I will help you recognize what is truly alive in your life and what you have been watering long after it stopped bearing good fruit. My beloved child, now that you are no longer using guilt to keep every door open, I want you to look honestly at the connections you have been watering simply because they once mattered. Some relationships are alive and growing. Others survive only because you keep carrying the conversation, sending the message, making the excuse, fixing the misunderstanding, or giving one more chance after nothing has changed. You do not have to hate anyone to admit that a connection has stopped bearing good fruit. Sometimes love remains, but access must change. You have been afraid that letting go would make you unkind. You have thought that if you stop reaching out, stop explaining, or stop trying to repair everything, you will become the person who abandoned someone. My beloved child, there is a difference between abandonment and acceptance. Abandonment refuses responsibility. Acceptance recognizes reality. You can admit that you did what was yours to do and still accept that another person may not be willing to meet you with honesty, consistency, or care. Think about how exhausting it has been to chase clarity from someone committed to confusion. You ask what is wrong and they say nothing. You offer peace and they bring another argument. You give time and they answer with distance. You keep hoping the next conversation will finally reveal the person you remember. But sometimes you are not missing the person standing in front of you. You are missing who they used to be, or who you hoped they would become. My beloved child, Jesus spoke about branches that bear fruit and branches that do not. The image is simple, but it carries wisdom. Healthy growth sometimes requires pruning, not because everything removed was evil, but because not everything belongs in every season. A branch can have history and still stop producing life. In the same way, a relationship can have memories, shared years, and real affection, while no longer being healthy in its current form. Do not turn pruning into revenge. I am not asking you to make a dramatic exit so someone will notice your absence. Do not post indirect messages. Do not create silence as punishment. Do not withdraw so they will chase you and prove your worth. That is still attachment wearing a different face. Letting go is quieter. It says, I will not keep forcing what no longer moves with truth. I will not keep begging for the bare minimum. I will not keep spending peace to buy connection. Some of you are still holding on to a friendship because you have known that person for many years. Some are holding on to a family pattern because everyone tells you blood means unlimited access. Some are holding on to a romantic connection because you fear starting over. Some are holding on to a work relationship because the familiar stress feels safer than an uncertain change. My beloved child, history deserves respect, but history alone does not make something healthy. Pay attention to patterns, not promises. Anyone can say they will change when they feel you pulling away. Watch what happens after the emotion fades. Does respect return? Does responsibility appear? Does their behavior become steadier? Do they make room for your boundaries without punishing you? You do not need perfection from people, but you do need enough truth to know whether the connection is becoming healthier or simply repeating the same cycle. And be careful with your own heart. Sometimes you chase people because being needed makes you feel valuable. You become the fixer, the listener, the rescuer, the one who always understands. Then when someone stops needing you, you feel rejected. My beloved child, your worth is not measured by how many people depend on your exhaustion. You can be loving without becoming responsible for every crisis. You can care without making yourself the answer to every problem. There is also grief inside letting go. Even when a relationship is unhealthy, losing it can hurt. You may miss the good days. You may miss the version of yourself who felt secure there. You may miss the routines more than the person. Do not shame yourself for feeling that sadness. Release can be right and still be painful. Wisdom does not always feel good immediately. Sometimes peace arrives after the ache of accepting what you wished could have been different. My beloved child, when someone begins to distance themselves, resist the urge to chase every disappearing step. Ask what their distance is revealing. Maybe they need space. Maybe the relationship has reached a natural end. Maybe your new boundary exposed how much the old pattern depended on your overgiving. You do not need to label every departure as betrayal. Sometimes people leave because the season is complete. Sometimes you leave because staying would require you to keep abandoning yourself. Remember Abraham and Lot. There came a point when separation became necessary because the space they shared could no longer hold both paths peacefully. The separation was not the end of God's work. It was a change in direction. My beloved child, sometimes peace requires room, not hatred, not drama, room. Enough room to hear clearly again. Enough room to notice who you are when you are not managing someone else's reactions. So if a connection is falling away, do not immediately assume you have failed. Ask whether you have been honest. Ask whether you have acted with humility. Ask whether you have made reasonable efforts toward peace. Then ask whether continuing the same effort is producing anything different. If the answer is no, it may be time to stop chasing. Use that saved energy wisely. Rest, pray. Return to people who show up with consistency. Finish something you have postponed. Take care of your home. Call someone who brings peace instead of confusion. Sit quietly long enough to hear your own thoughts again. The space left by an unhealthy connection does not have to become emptiness. It can become room for healing purpose and healthier relationships. My beloved child, do not rush to fill every empty chair. Loneliness can make the wrong connection look familiar enough to feel safe. Let the empty space teach you what peace feels like. Let your nervous system learn that quiet is not abandonment. Let your heart discover that you can survive a day without checking whether someone has changed their mind about you. You are not losing everything. You are learning what deserves your attention. What is real does not need constant manipulation to stay alive. What is healthy can survive honesty. What is mutual does not require one person to carry the entire weight. And as the noise begins to fall away, you may start noticing smaller things again. A memory that arrives without crushing you. A song that brings gratitude instead of panic. A conversation that answers a question you have been carrying. Do not rush to make every moment supernatural. Simply notice what stirs your heart toward truth, peace, and prayer. That is where we are going next, my beloved child. When dead connections stop demanding your attention, your heart becomes quiet enough to recognize the gentle reminders that healing is already beginning within your daily life. My beloved child, now that some of the noise has begun to fall away, you may notice things you were too exhausted to notice before. A memory may rise without warning. A familiar name may appear in conversation. A dream may stay with you after morning comes. Someone may say a simple sentence that touches the exact place you have been praying about. Do not rush past these moments, but do not become afraid of them either. Let them slow you down. Let them invite you to listen more carefully to what is happening inside your heart. For a long time, pain kept your attention fixed on survival. You were watching who might leave, what might go wrong, what bill might arrive, what memory might return. When the heart lives under pressure, even gentle things can become invisible. But as peace begins returning, your awareness changes. You start hearing birds outside again. You notice the light across the kitchen floor. You remember a phrase someone you loved used to say, and instead of collapsing, you breathe. My beloved child, that small change matters. Healing often announces itself quietly before it ever feels dramatic. The source of wisdom is not panic. So if you hear a name repeated several times, do not immediately decide that heaven is demanding a secret interpretation. Pause. Ask what the name brings to mind. Does it awaken gratitude, unfinished grief, forgiveness, or a lesson you still need to carry? If a dream feels unusually vivid, write it down. If that helps, then bring it to me in prayer. Let truth test what emotion suggests. You do not need to chase mysteries in order to be close to me. Remember Elijah on the mountain. There was wind, shaking, and fire, yet the moment that drew him into attention came through a gentle voice. That story does not teach you to make every quiet feeling divine. It teaches you that my guidance does not always compete with the loudest thing in the room. Sometimes clarity comes when the noise ends. Sometimes the answer is not another sign, but the courage to sit still long enough to recognize what you already know is wise. My beloved child, there may be a song that suddenly brings back someone you miss. Let the memory come. You may smile and cry at the same time. That is not failure. There may be a scent from an old kitchen, a certain soap, a flower, a coat stored in a closet, and for 1 second the past may feel very close. You do not need to explain that moment. You can simply say, "Thank you for the love I was given. Help me carry what was good without becoming trapped in what is gone." Sometimes the quiet sign is not connected to the person you lost at all. It may be your own reaction changing. You notice you no longer check your phone every few minutes. You hear a name that once ruined your entire day, and your body stays calm. You pass a place associated with pain, and you do not feel the same urge to turn around. You sleep through the night for the first time in weeks. My beloved child, pay attention to that kind of evidence. Peace becoming ordinary is still a miracle of growth, even when no one else sees it. You may also meet someone who says something unexpectedly useful. Perhaps a coworker mentions a lesson they learned after loss. Perhaps a friend calls on the day you were tempted to isolate. Perhaps a stranger offers kindness when you have been questioning whether people can still be trusted. Receive the encouragement without building a prophecy around the person. Sometimes a conversation is simply a good conversation. Sometimes I use ordinary human care to remind you that you are not walking through life alone. This is why discernment matters. A sign that leads you deeper into fear, obsession, suspicion, or control should not be allowed to rule you. A reminder that turns you toward patience, honesty, prayer, courage, forgiveness, or wise action is worth noticing. Jesus said a tree is recognized by its fruit. Use that wisdom here. Ask what the moment produces in you. Does it make you kinder and clearer, or more frightened and compulsive? Does it help you live faithfully, or does it make you stop living while waiting for another message? My beloved child, you do not need a constant stream of extraordinary experiences to know that your life has meaning. Some of the most important confirmations are simple. You kept a boundary you once would have broken. You told the truth without over-explaining. You rested instead of chasing someone. You prayed before reacting. You finally opened the letter you had avoided. You made the appointment. You cleaned the room that grief had made difficult to enter. These are quiet signs, too. They show that your heart is beginning to participate in its own healing, and when memories of the one you loved return, let them become invitations to live more fully. If they taught you generosity, practice generosity. If they made you laugh, allow laughter back into your home. If they valued family, call someone you have been postponing. If they worked hard but never rested, perhaps honor their memory by learning the balance they never had. Love becomes most powerful when it moves through your choices, rather than trapping you inside remembrance. There will still be difficult days. A dream may leave you aching. An anniversary may feel heavier than expected. A song may undo you in a grocery store. Do not conclude that healing has disappeared. Grief does not move in a straight line. A painful moment can return without returning you to the beginning. You are allowed to feel the wave without believing the ocean has swallowed you again. My beloved child, you have more strength now than you did when this journey began. So notice what stirs your heart, but hold it gently. Do not turn every coincidence into instruction. Do not turn every emotion into prophecy. Bring what you notice to Scripture, prayer, wisdom, and time. What is true does not need you to panic. What is healthy can survive examination. What is from love will not need fear to keep your attention. And as you begin recognizing these quieter signs of healing, another truth is ready to come into view. The pain you have carried changed you, but it did not erase the reason you are still here. Loss may have interrupted your plans. Betrayal may have delayed your confidence. Grief may have taken your strength for a season. But none of those things received the authority to cancel your purpose. You are not being asked to worship the memory or fear the future. You are being invited to recognize that healing is already teaching you how to walk with greater tenderness, courage, discernment, and trust each day. My beloved child, that is what I want to show you next. Not how to escape your story, but how to understand that even the wounded chapters can become part of the life you are still being called to live. My beloved child, now that you are beginning to notice the evidence of healing, I want you to understand something. Pain may have changed the way you walk, but it did not erase the reason you are still here. Loss may have interrupted your plans. Betrayal may have made you question your judgment. Grief may have taken your energy for a season. None of those things were given the authority to decide that your life no longer has meaning. Your purpose did not disappear when your heart broke. You may have believed that purpose belongs only to people who feel strong, certain, and prepared. That is not true. Purpose often grows inside people who have been humbled by life. You know what it is to sit with disappointment. You know what it feels like when a day suddenly becomes heavy. You know how loneliness can make a room feel larger than it is. Those experiences do not make you more important than anyone else, but they can make you more compassionate if you let me teach you through them. My beloved child, think about Moses. He did not step toward his calling feeling impressive. He questioned himself. He remembered his limitations. He wondered whether his voice was enough. Yet I did not ask him to become someone else before taking the next faithful step. I reminded him that he would not walk alone. That is what I want you to remember. Purpose is not proof that you will never feel afraid. Purpose is learning to move with me, even when fear has something to say. Some of what hurt you has already changed the way you see people. You notice the person who sits quietly while everyone else is laughing. You recognize the tired smile because you have worn it. You hear what someone is not saying because there were seasons when you could not explain your own pain. My beloved child, that sensitivity can become service. The wound does not have to become your identity, but the wisdom you gained while healing can become something another person needs. Do not rush to make your purpose dramatic. You may not be called to stand before thousands of people. Purpose can be found in the way you raise a child, answer a frightened friend, care for an aging parent, lead with integrity at work, or refuse to repeat a destructive family pattern. It can look like telling the truth when lying would be easier. It can look like resting so bitterness does not spill onto the people you love. A meaningful life is often built through ordinary faithfulness repeated. You have spent enough time asking why certain things happened. Some questions may become clearer. Others may remain unanswered longer than you want. Do not let unanswered questions freeze everything else. My beloved child, you can carry mystery and still make a wise decision today. You can grieve what you lost and still plant something good. You can miss someone deeply and still show up for the people who remain. You can wish the past were different and still become responsible for the future that is in your hands. Joseph spent years living inside a story he did not choose. Betrayal, false accusation, delay, and confinement all appeared before the chapter where his responsibility expanded. Scripture does not ask you to pretend those painful years were pleasant. It shows that suffering did not get the final word. My beloved child, I am not promising that every loss will produce the outcome you imagine. I am reminding you that difficult chapters do not make the entire story useless. This matters because pain has been whispering something dangerous to you. It has said you are too damaged now, you missed your chance, you should have been further ahead. Someone else would have handled this better. Listen carefully. Those thoughts feel convincing because they speak in the voice of disappointment, but they are not the whole truth. You have been learning, you have been surviving, you have been becoming more honest about what you need, what you tolerate, and where you must change. My beloved child, stop measuring your purpose by speed. A tree does not apologize because winter interrupted its leaves. Roots can deepen while nothing impressive is visible above the ground. There have been seasons when your life looked still, but something important was happening underneath. You were learning boundaries. You were discovering which relationships were mutual. You were seeing where fear had been making decisions for you. You were learning to pray without performing. That is not wasted time. And do not measure purpose only by applause. Some of the most important things you will ever do may never be seen by a crowd. The conversation where you choose patience instead of anger matters. The moment you stop passing pain into the next generation matters. The decision to ask for help matters. The apology you give without defending yourself matters. The boundary you hold without hatred matters. My beloved child, heaven does not need your life to look impressive before faithfulness becomes valuable. You may wonder how to know what comes next. Start with what is already in front of you. What responsibility have you been avoiding because grief made you tired? What gift have you stopped using because disappointment made you doubt yourself? Who needs your honesty? What small task would bring order to a place that has felt chaotic? Purpose often becomes clearer after movement begins. You do not need a map before taking one faithful step. Take another breath. Ask me, God, what is mine to do today? Not next year, not every future decision. Today, perhaps it is making a phone call. Perhaps it is returning to work with more focus. Perhaps it is forgiving yourself enough to begin something again. Perhaps it is resting without guilt because exhaustion has been making every decision darker. My beloved child, small obedience can restore confidence that pain tried to steal. The person you love does not need you to stop living in order to prove that they mattered. Let the love you remember make you more alive, not less. Carry forward what was generous, courageous, funny, patient, or faithful in them. Let memory become influence rather than imprisonment. If their life taught you that time is precious, then use your time with intention. If losing them taught you how fragile ordinary days are, then stop postponing every good thing. My beloved child, your pain is part of your story, but it is not the author of your story. You are still capable of learning, serving, building, loving, and beginning again. There is more life in front of you than fear wants you to believe. And now that you understand your purpose was not canceled, you are ready for the next question. What door have you been standing in front of knowing you should move but allowing fear to keep you waiting? That is where we are going next. I will show you how to recognize the difference between wise caution and fear that has simply become familiar, and how to take the next step without demanding certainty before you move. My beloved child, you already know there is a door in front of you. Maybe it is not a literal door. Maybe it is a conversation you keep postponing, an application you have not submitted, a boundary you are afraid to hold, a place you need to leave, or a beginning you keep delaying because you want certainty first. Sometimes you called it caution, but fear can learn to speak in a reasonable voice. I want you to notice the difference. Wisdom asks questions and then makes a decision. Fear keeps asking the same question because no answer feels safe enough. Wisdom considers consequences. Fear imagines every possible disaster. Wisdom can wait when waiting is necessary. Fear waits because movement feels dangerous. You do not need to condemn yourself for hesitating. Your heart became careful for a reason, but careful does not have to become frozen. There were seasons when caution protected you from rushing back into what hurt you. It taught you to notice patterns and remember that not every invitation deserves a yes, but a tool that helped during one season can become a cage in the next. If fear is now keeping you from every honest risk, every healthy relationship, every useful opportunity, and every faithful step, then it is no longer protecting your peace, it is limiting your life. Remember Peter stepping out of the boat. The water was still water. The wind did not suddenly become gentle. He was not given a complete explanation of what would happen next. He moved because he was looking toward Jesus. My beloved child, I am not asking you to act recklessly. I am asking you to stop demanding the absence of uncertainty before you obey what has become clear. Some doors should remain closed. You already know that. A familiar person may return with the same promises and no evidence of change. An opportunity may compromise your values. A relationship may ask you to become smaller. Do not call every open door my direction. Test what stands before you. Look for truth, character-wise, counsel, and consistency. But there are other doors you have delayed because they remind you that life is moving again. That is what frightens you. Moving forward means admitting the old chapter is really over. Beginning something new means accepting that you cannot return to the version of life you lost. Sometimes you are not afraid of the future. You are afraid that choosing it will feel like saying goodbye again. Hear me carefully. You can honor what was without refusing what is. You can remember someone and still accept a new responsibility. You can cherish a former season and still step into another one. You can grieve and build at the same time. The heart can hold more than one truth. Missing what was does not require rejecting what could be. Maybe the door in front of you is simple. You need to call someone back. You need to schedule the appointment. You need to walk into a room you have avoided. You need to return to church after a season of distance. You need to start creating or working again. Do not underestimate small movement. Confidence often returns after action, not before it. My beloved child, take one step that matches the light you already have. You do not need 10 signs. You do not need perfect courage. You do not need everyone to approve. Ask whether the step is honest, responsible, and consistent with the person you are becoming. If it is, move gently. A door does not always need to be kicked open. Sometimes it simply needs your hand on the handle. You have also been afraid of failing again. You think that if you begin and something goes wrong, it will prove the harsh things you once believed about yourself. But failure is not always proof that you chose wrongly. Sometimes it is information. Sometimes it teaches timing, patience, or humility. My beloved child, you cannot build a life where nothing ever hurts and nothing ever disappoints you. You can build a life where disappointment no longer destroys your identity. Think about Joshua standing before a future larger than his confidence. He was told to be strong and courageous, not because there would be no difficulty, but because he would not be abandoned inside it. Courage was a way of walking while remembering who was with him. That is the kind of courage I am growing in you. Do not confuse peace with ease. A right decision can still make your stomach tighten. A necessary conversation can still make your hands shake. A healthy boundary can still make you sad. Peace is not always pleasant before action. Sometimes peace is the deeper knowledge that you are choosing truth even while your emotions need time to catch up. My beloved child, there may be people who do not understand your next step. They knew the version of you who explained everything, waited too long, and accepted less than peace. When you begin moving differently, they may call it selfishness, pride, or distance. Listen humbly, but do not return to an unhealthy pattern simply to make your growth easier for someone else to understand. Ask me for courage without arrogance. Ask me for discernment without suspicion. Ask me for movement without restlessness. Say, God, if this is mine to do, give me enough courage for the next step. If it is not mine, give me enough peace to leave it alone. That prayer keeps your heart open without making you desperate. And then pay attention to what happens when you act. Not whether everything immediately becomes easier, but whether you become more honest, more grounded, and more responsible. Does the step help you live in truth? Does it strengthen healthy relationships and make room for peace? Does it bring your life closer to integrity? Fruit often reveals what fear could not. My beloved child, the door that fear delayed may not lead to a spectacular moment. It may lead to a quieter life, better sleep, a healthier circle, work that uses your gifts, a peaceful home, a conversation that finally ends confusion, a new routine that gives your mind space to heal. Do not overlook ordinary doors because you were expecting something dramatic. You are not walking forward to prove that you have recovered. You are walking because life is still asking something of you. There is love you can still give. There is wisdom you can still offer. There are parts of yourself that have been waiting for permission to live again. So place your hand on the door fear kept you from touching. Seek wise counsel. Then take the step that belongs to you. And as you move, something else will become clear. You are not walking forward empty-handed. The love you received, the lessons you learned, the tenderness that grief deepened, and the values that person helped plant in you did not disappear. My beloved child, those are part of what you carry now. And next, I want to show you how to receive that inheritance of love without turning memory into a chain around your future. My beloved child, now that you have stepped toward the door fear once kept closed, I want you to notice what you are carrying with you. You are not entering the next chapter empty-handed. Love leaves more behind than photographs, belongings, or a name spoken with tears. It leaves habits, lessons, courage, humor, tenderness, warnings, and ways of seeing the world. Some of what that person gave you is already living inside the way you speak, choose, forgive, and care. For a long time, grief made you focus on what was taken. The empty chair, the silence where a voice used to be, the absence at birthdays, holidays, and ordinary evenings. That is understandable. Loss naturally draws your attention to what is missing, but healing slowly teaches you to notice what remains. My beloved child, the person you loved may no longer be present in the way you once knew, but the good they planted in you did not vanish. Perhaps they taught you to work hard without needing applause. Perhaps they showed you how to make people feel welcome. Perhaps they had a way of finding humor in difficult days. Perhaps they taught you to pray, to cook, to save money, to keep your word, or to show up when someone was hurting. These things may look ordinary, but ordinary things shape a life. The inheritance of love is often carried through small behaviors repeated long after the original moment has passed. Think about Timothy in Scripture. Paul reminded him of the sincere faith that first lived in his grandmother Lois and his mother Eunice. Their faith became part of what strengthened him later. My beloved child, that is a beautiful picture of inheritance. Not money arriving from nowhere, not a mysterious reward falling into your hands. It is something true being passed through relationship, example, memory, and faith, until another life learns how to carry it forward. You may have received more than you realize. Maybe the person you lost believed in you when you were too uncertain to believe in yourself. Maybe they challenged you when you were making excuses. Maybe their patience taught you that strength does not always need to be loud. Maybe their mistakes taught you something too. Even the things they struggled with can become wisdom if you choose not to repeat what caused harm. My beloved child, receiving an inheritance of love does not mean idealizing the person who died. They were human. They had limitations. They may have disappointed you. There may be memories that are complicated, not beautiful. You do not need to pretend everything was perfect in order to honor what was good. Mature love can tell the truth. You can be grateful for what helped you and still acknowledge what hurt. You can carry the lesson without carrying the wound. This matters because grief sometimes turns memory into a museum. You become afraid to move anything, afraid to change a room, give away an object, laugh on an anniversary, or create traditions because it feels as if change might erase the past. Hear me carefully. Memory is not protected by freezing your life. Love does not disappear because a room changes. You are allowed to make space for the life that is still unfolding around you. Maybe there is an object you have kept because it brings comfort. Keep it if it helps. Maybe there is something you are ready to give to another family member. Give it with peace. Maybe you want to write down stories before details fade. Do that. Maybe you want to cook their favorite meal once a year, visit a place they loved, or support a cause that mattered to them. These can be healthy ways of allowing memory to become gratitude instead of a cage. But my beloved child, do not turn any object into proof that you are still connected to love. The object can be lost, the photograph can fade, a house can be sold, clothes can be given away. What mattered most was never contained in those things. Love formed you in ways that cannot be packed into a box. The most lasting inheritance is often visible in who you are becoming. Ask yourself what quality you most admired in the person you miss. Was it courage, loyalty, generosity, honesty, patience, faith? Then ask how that quality can become action in your life today. If they were generous, give something without needing recognition. If they valued family, make the call you keep postponing. If they were honest, tell the truth you have been avoiding. If they knew how to rest, stop treating exhaustion like proof of worth. You can honor their place in your story without making grief the center of every chapter that follows. Love can remain precious while your life keeps growing forward. This is how love moves forward without asking you to stay in the past. My beloved child, there may also be a promise you made to them or to yourself. Maybe you said you would take care of your family. Maybe you promised to finish something you started. Maybe you told them you would be okay, even though you had no idea how. Be careful not to turn that promise into pressure. You do not honor someone by forcing yourself to become invulnerable. You honor love by becoming faithful, honest, and responsible one day at a time. Remember that Jesus spoke about treasure in a way that shifted attention away from what can decay or disappear. Some treasures are carried in character, compassion, faithfulness, mercy, truth. My beloved child, the life you shared may have left that kind of treasure in you. It becomes visible when you choose patience instead of passing pain forward. It grows when you refuse to let grief make you cruel. It becomes stronger when you use your experience to comfort someone who feels alone. You may even discover gifts in yourself that became clearer because of loss. You listen differently now. You understand silence. You recognize how valuable time is. You know that people need to hear love while they can still receive it. Do not waste that awareness. Let it change the way you live. Say what matters sooner. Apologize without waiting for the perfect moment. Show gratitude while the person can still hear it. Make ordinary days count. My beloved child, this inheritance is not something you must unlock through a sign or earn through perfect faith. It is already present in the lessons, values, memories, and love that shaped you. Your responsibility is not to chase what is hidden. Your responsibility is to recognize what was given and decide how you will carry it. And yet, as you receive what was good, there may still be one place in your heart that resists peace. A conversation that never happened. A goodbye that came too quickly. Words you wish you had heard or words you wish you had been able to say. Do not be afraid of that place. We are going there next, my beloved child, because receiving the inheritance of love also means facing the unfinished goodbye without allowing it to keep punishing you. My beloved child, now we have reached the place your heart has been circling for a long time. The goodbye you never had. The words you meant to say. The moment you thought would come later until later never came. You may still replay the final days and wonder what you should have noticed, what you should have asked, or what you should have done differently. I know how deeply that unfinished ending has lived inside you, but I do not want regret to keep turning love into punishment. You have imagined another version of the ending. In that version, you had more time, You sat beside them without distraction. You said everything clearly. You apologized for what needed repair. You heard them say what your heart needed to hear. My beloved child, it is natural to imagine that scene, but you cannot live inside a moment that never happened. Grief often tries to rewrite the final chapter because the real ending felt too sudden, too confusing, or too painful to accept. Maybe you were not there when they took their last breath. Maybe distance work, illness, family tension, or circumstances kept you apart. Maybe you were there physically but felt frozen, unable to find the right words. Maybe your last conversation was ordinary, and now you wish you had known it would become the last. Hear me carefully. Human beings do not know which conversation will become sacred in memory. You lived that day with the knowledge you had, not with the knowledge grief gave you afterward. Do not judge yesterday with information you only received today. My beloved child, there may be one sentence you wish you could send backward through time. I love you. I am sorry. Thank you. I forgive you. Please forgive me. I wish I had stayed longer. Whatever the sentence is, bring it to me now. Speak it in prayer. Write it if you need to. Let your heart finally say what it has been holding. You cannot change the past, but you can stop forcing the unsaid words to remain trapped inside you. Remember Mary and Martha when Lazarus died. Both carried the ache of what might have been different. They said, Lord, if you had been here. Their grief contained love, disappointment, confusion, and questions all at once. Jesus did not shame them for that mixture. He entered the grief with them. My beloved child, I am not frightened by your questions either. You can tell me that you wish the ending had been different. Faith does not require pretending you were not hurt. There may also be guilt because the relationship was complicated. Perhaps you loved them deeply and still had unresolved tension. Maybe there were years when you were distant. Maybe you both said things that caused pain. Death can make every unfinished conflict feel permanent, but an imperfect relationship can still contain real love. One argument does not erase every good year. One season of distance does not cancel every moment of care. You do not need to turn the person into a saint or yourself into a villain in order to grieve honestly. My beloved child, if you did something wrong, let truth teach you. If you withheld affection because of pride, become quicker to speak love now. If you stayed angry too long, learn to repair sooner with the people still here. If you were distracted, become more present. This is how regret can become wisdom. It cannot repair yesterday, but it can change the way you live today. That is far more faithful than repeating the same accusation against yourself for years. And if there was nothing you could have done, then stop inventing responsibility. You were not given control over every outcome. You could not prevent every illness, every accident, every choice, or every ending. Love sometimes wants to believe it should have been powerful enough to stop loss. But love is not the same as control. My beloved child, you can have loved someone with your whole heart and still been unable to keep them here. Take a slow breath. Notice what happens inside you when you hear that. Maybe part of you resists because self-blame has been the last thread connecting you to the final moment. You fear that if you stop replaying what went wrong, you will somehow stop caring. But remembrance does not require punishment. You can keep their name, their stories, their influence, and the love you shared without keeping yourself on trial. The Psalms are full of people speaking to me from places of loss and confusion. They ask why, they remember, they weep, then slowly they turn toward trust. That movement matters. Grief can speak honestly and still move. You do not have to silence sorrow in order to heal. You only need to stop allowing sorrow to become the only voice you hear. My beloved child, consider what you would say to someone you love if they carried the same regret you carry. Would you tell them they deserve to suffer forever because they missed one moment? Would you tell them every good memory is worthless because the ending was imperfect? Or would you remind them that love is larger than one final scene? Offer yourself some of that same mercy. You may never receive the goodbye exactly as you wanted it. That is painful, and I will not make it smaller than it is. But closure does not always arrive as a perfect conversation. Sometimes closure grows when you accept that the story was real even though the ending was incomplete. Sometimes it grows when you stop asking the final day to explain the entire relationship. Sometimes it grows when you choose to bless what was good and release what cannot be repaired. My beloved child, let the goodbye become gentler now. You can say, I wish we had more time and still continue living. You can say, I miss you, and still laugh tomorrow. You can say, I regret that moment, and still forgive yourself. These truths can live together, and when the guilt loosens, your hands become available again. You may feel strange when that readiness begins. A new conversation can bring warmth and guilt at the same time. An invitation can make you curious and afraid. You may catch yourself enjoying an ordinary afternoon and suddenly wonder whether you are leaving someone behind. You are not. Moving forward does not erase love. It shows that love helped form a heart that is still capable of receiving life responsibility, friendship, and joy with gratitude. Again, you begin to notice life around you instead of staring only at the door that closed. You become able to receive kindness without comparing it to what you lost. You become able to meet people without asking them to fill an absence they were never meant to fill. That is where we are going next, my beloved child. Not toward replacing anyone, and not toward forgetting. We are going toward readiness, toward learning how to meet new people, new responsibilities, and new possibilities with a heart that remembers the past without demanding that the future repeat it. My beloved child, now that the unfinished goodbye is no longer holding your heart tightly, I want you to notice what is changing. You are beginning to look forward without feeling that every step is a betrayal of the past. Healing does not ask you to erase who you loved. It gives you room to meet what comes next without demanding that it look exactly like what came before. Your heart is learning how to remember and receive at the same time. New people may enter your life, some through friendship, family, community, church, or a conversation. Do not rush to decide what each person means. You do not need to label every connection as destiny. Let time reveal character. Let consistency speak. Let peace, honesty, humility, and mutual respect show you whether a relationship deserves deeper trust. My beloved child, readiness is not desperation. You do not have to force what is healthy. Part of you may still compare everyone new with someone from your past. That is understandable. The heart uses familiar patterns to protect itself. You may notice a tone of voice and expect disappointment. You may see kindness and wonder when it will disappear. You may receive genuine attention and suspect a hidden reason. Do not shame yourself for those reactions. Notice them, bring them to me, and let the present person be judged by present evidence rather than an old wound. Ruth entered a new season without knowing how her story would unfold. She carried grief, loyalty, uncertainty, and responsibility into a future she could not control. She did not receive a map of every relationship or every outcome. She simply kept moving with faithfulness in the place in front of her. My beloved child, that is often how new possibilities begin. Not with thunder, not with certainty, with one ordinary decision to show up honestly where you are. You may also notice opportunities beginning to appear again. A project you once would have ignored, a conversation about work, an invitation to learn something new, a chance to serve, a responsibility that stretches you. Do not assume every opportunity must become your next chapter, but do not reject everything simply because you are afraid of disappointment. Ask whether the opportunity fits your values, your responsibilities, and the direction of the person you are becoming. There is a difference between discernment and avoidance. Discernment looks carefully and stays willing to move. Avoidance keeps finding reasons to stay exactly where fear feels familiar. My beloved child, you have already spent enough time living under the belief that another loss would destroy you. You know now that pain can wound you deeply without taking away your entire future. That knowledge does not make you careless. It makes you stronger, wiser, and more capable of choosing slowly. You may meet someone who understands a part of you without needing a long explanation. Do not turn that into a promise about the future. Simply notice how it feels to be met with patience. You may encounter someone who respects your no, remembers what matters to you, or does not punish you for needing space. Let healthy behavior teach you that closeness does not always require confusion. Sometimes healing becomes visible through the relationships you are finally willing to choose differently. My beloved child, do not make new people responsible for repairing what old people broke. That is too much weight for any relationship. A new friend cannot become the answer to every lonely night. A new partner cannot replace the person you lost. A new opportunity cannot erase every disappointment. Let new things be new. Receive them for what they are, not for what you need them to compensate for. This protects both your peace and the people who enter your life. Jesus met people where they were, but he did not give everyone the same access. Crowds followed him. Some came with questions. Some came with demands. A smaller group walked closely with him. There is wisdom in that pattern. My beloved child, openness does not require equal access for everyone. You can be kind to many and deeply trust a few. You can welcome people without handing them the keys to every vulnerable place in your heart. Prepare your heart by becoming clear about what healthy connection means to you. Respect, honesty, mutual effort, the freedom to speak truth without fear, the ability to apologize and change. Space for both people to remain whole. These things may feel unfamiliar if you spent years confusing intensity with love, but peace is not boring. Consistency is not weakness. A relationship does not need chaos to matter. The same is true for possibilities beyond relationships. You may have become so used to disappointment that hope feels suspicious. When something good appears, you may search for the catch. My beloved child, you do not have to become naive, but you are allowed to be curious again. You are allowed to ask, what if this could be good, instead of only asking, what if this goes wrong? Hope does not guarantee an outcome. It gives you permission to participate in life again. Take one small practical step toward readiness. Update something you have postponed. Answer the message you have been avoiding. Attend the gathering you keep talking yourself out of. Return to a hobby that once made you feel alive. Learn the skill. Make the appointment. Clean the space where you want something new to grow. Readiness is often built through ordinary preparation, long before the larger opportunity becomes clear. My beloved child, do not rush because you are afraid time is running out. You are not behind because your path required healing. Some seasons are slower because your heart is learning things speed could never teach. You are becoming less impressed by promises and more attentive to character, less controlled by loneliness and more willing to wait for what is healthy, less afraid of empty space and more able to use it wisely. And if something new does not last, do not call the season a failure. Some people teach, some accompany, some challenge, and some remain. Some opportunities open one door and then end. You do not need every beginning to become permanent for it to have value. Receive what is true, learn what is useful, and keep your identity anchored deeper than any outcome. My beloved child, your heart is becoming available again. Not reckless, not forgetful, available. You can remember who you lost without refusing who is still here. You can honor what ended without closing your hands to what may begin. You can carry wisdom without treating every new face as a threat. And as you practice this openness, you may notice something more personal. The person you thought grief had taken from you was not only the one you lost. Part of you disappeared too. Your laughter, your confidence, your curiosity, your ability to imagine a future. That is what I want to restore next, my beloved child. Not a copy of who you were before the pain, but a steadier version of you, who can feel joy again without being afraid of what it might cost. My beloved child, you have begun opening your heart to life again, and now I want to speak to the part of you that feels unfamiliar to yourself. Somewhere along the way, grief did not only take someone you loved, it seemed to take pieces of you too. The way you laughed without thinking, the way you made plans without fear, the way you entered a room without carrying some heaviness. You may look at old photographs and wonder where that version of you went. Hear me, you are not gone. You have changed, yes. Pain changes people. Loss changes the way time feels. Betrayal changes the way trust enters a room. Long seasons of stress can make even simple joy feel distant. But change is not the same as disappearance. My beloved child, there are parts of you that have been resting under the weight, waiting for enough safety to rise again. Healing is not asking you to become exactly who you were before. It is allowing you to become whole in a way. You may notice restoration in small moments first. You wake up and realize your first thought was not pain. You hear yourself laugh, and the sound surprises you. You finish a meal and actually taste it. You answer a message because you want to, not because you are afraid someone will leave. You make a plan for next week and do not immediately imagine everything going wrong. These moments may feel ordinary, but they matter. They are signs that your nervous system is beginning to believe life is not only danger. My beloved child, do not be afraid when joy returns. Some people feel guilty the first time they have a good day after deep loss. They think happiness means they are forgetting. They think laughter means the love was not deep enough. That is not true. Joy does not erase grief. It gives your heart another place to stand. You can carry love for someone who is gone and still enjoy the people who are here. You can miss them at night and smile in the morning. David knew what it was to move through sorrow and still speak to his own soul about hope. The Psalms do not hide emotional swings. One moment there is crying, the next there is remembrance, then trust begins to return. My beloved child, that is closer to real healing than pretending you never hurt. Restoration is not a straight road. It is learning that sadness can visit without taking permanent possession of the house. There may be days when you feel strong and then suddenly tired again. Do not panic. A hard day does not erase the progress of a good week. An anniversary does not send you back to the beginning. A memory that makes you cry does not mean you have failed. Healing is not measured by whether pain ever appears. It is measured by whether pain still controls your identity, your choices, your relationships, and your hope. You have spent a long time defining yourself by what happened. The abandoned one, the betrayed one, the grieving one, the person who lost too much. Those descriptions may explain part of your story, but they are not your full name. My beloved child, you are also the person who kept getting up, the person who learned, the person who became more careful with love, the person who discovered boundaries, the person who is still able to care even after being hurt. Jesus met people who had been known by one painful label for years and spoke to something larger in them. He saw beyond the crowd's definition. He saw beyond shame. He called people forward. I want you to understand that I do not reduce you to the hardest season you survived. I see what can still grow. I see the patience grief has taught you. I see the courage you use every time you choose honesty instead of hiding. My beloved child, begin restoring yourself through ordinary things. Return to music you stopped playing. Walk somewhere that makes your mind quieter. Cook something you enjoy. Move your body. Clean the room that has felt heavy. Sit in sunlight for a few minutes. Read something that gives your thoughts better company. Call the friend who makes you feel understood. These actions are not shallow. The body and heart often need simple routines before deeper strength feels believable again. You may also need to recover your voice. Pain made you quiet because explaining everything became exhausting. You stopped sharing ideas. You stopped saying what you wanted. You learned to say whatever kept the peace, even when it cost your own peace. My beloved child, healing will slowly return honesty to your mouth. You will learn to say yes without resentment and no without a speech. You will learn that being clear does not make you cruel, and your confidence may return differently than before. Before pain, confidence may have meant believing nothing bad would happen. Now, confidence can mean knowing that even if life becomes difficult, you will not abandon yourself. You will pray. You will ask for help. You will notice warning signs. You will rest before exhaustion becomes despair. You will make a mistake and correct it without destroying your worth. That is stronger confidence because it is built on truth, not illusion. My beloved child, there may be something you once loved doing that grief made impossible for a while. Do not force yourself back into it just to prove you are better. Approach it gently. Try again for a few minutes. Let enjoyment return without pressure. The person you are becoming does not need to perform recovery. You are allowed to heal privately. You are allowed to rebuild slowly. A house repaired carefully after a storm is not weak because the work took time. You may look different to people now. Some will say you changed. They may be right. You no longer have the same patience for confusion. You do not chase every connection. You protect your sleep. You think before saying yes. You value peace differently because you know what it costs to lose it. My beloved child, not every change needs to be reversed. Some parts of the old you should remain in the past because wisdom has taken their place. Still, I want your warmth back. I want your curiosity back. I want you to notice beauty without immediately fearing its end. I want you to receive a peaceful day without preparing for disaster. I want you to believe that tenderness can coexist with boundaries and that strength does not require hardness. Restoration is not becoming untouched. It is becoming alive without pretending you were never wounded. My beloved child, you are beginning to return to yourself, but not as a copy of who you were. You are returning with deeper roots, clearer eyes, and a heart that understands what truly matters. And as that person begins to stand again, you will be ready to reclaim more than joy. Next, I want to help you reclaim your peace, your strength, and the calling that pain once made you doubt. My beloved child, you are beginning to stand again, and now I want you to reclaim what pain convinced you had disappeared. Your peace, your strength, your calling. These were never possessions that grief could steal. They may have been buried under exhaustion, disappointment, and long nights of questioning, but they were not erased. You are not returning to life empty. You are returning with clearer eyes, stronger boundaries, and a deeper understanding of what deserves your energy. Peace is the first thing I want you to reclaim, not the fragile peace that depends on everyone behaving exactly as you hoped, not the kind that disappears the moment a message goes unanswered or a plan changes. I want to grow a steadier peace in you, a peace that can breathe while uncertainty is still present, a peace that does not require every question to be answered before you rest. My beloved child, this peace begins when you stop handing every circumstance the authority to decide how you will live inside yourself. You have learned that some people will not understand the person you are becoming. They were comfortable with the version of you who over-explained, over-gave, and stayed available, even when you were exhausted. When you begin protecting your time, speaking honestly, and saying no without anger, some may call you different. They may be right. Growth changes the way you participate in relationships. Do not become proud, but do not shrink simply to make an old pattern feel familiar again. Jesus did not allow every demand around him to control his direction. There were moments when crowds wanted more, yet he withdrew to pray. There were moments when people misunderstood him, yet he did not build his identity around their approval. My beloved child, learn from that rhythm. Service without rest becomes resentment. Kindness without boundaries becomes depletion. Listening to everyone without returning to me can make other voices louder than truth. Your peace needs structure, not just good intentions. Now reclaim your strength. Strength is not pretending nothing hurts. It is knowing what to do when hurt arrives. It is calling someone trustworthy instead of isolating. It is sleeping instead of feeding anxious thoughts until morning. It is admitting when you need help. It is apologizing when you are wrong and refusing shame when you have made things right. My beloved child's strength has become quieter in you. It no longer needs to prove itself by enduring everything. You may have once believed being strong meant never needing anyone. Pain taught you otherwise. Even Jesus allowed others to walk beside him. Paul spoke often about people who strengthened him in difficult seasons. Scripture does not celebrate isolation as maturity. You need wise people. People who can tell you the truth without humiliating you. People who can pray with you without controlling you. People who can celebrate your growth without needing credit for it. Notice who brings that kind of steadiness into your life. Do not chase a large circle just to avoid feeling alone. A few honest relationships can carry more life than many shallow ones. My beloved child, you are learning to recognize mutuality. You no longer want connections where one person carries every conversation, every apology, every effort, and every emotional burden. That is part of reclaiming strength, too. You are no longer proving love through exhaustion. Then there is your calling. You may hear that word and imagine something enormous, public, or dramatic. Let that pressure go. Calling begins with faithfulness. It is the way you use what has been entrusted to you. Your attention, your words, your work, your compassion, your experience, your ability to notice someone who is hurting because you know what hidden pain looks like. My beloved child, your calling can begin in a kitchen, an office, a hospital room, a church hallway, or a conversation no one else will ever hear. Paul wrote about different gifts serving one body. Not every gift looked the same and not every role was visible. That matters for you. Do not despise what seems small. If you can encourage sincerely. If you can teach, prepare carefully. If you can listen without making the moment about yourself. If you can create something honest. If you can serve without needing applause. Calling becomes clearer through use, not endless speculation. My beloved child, your words matter in this season. Not because every sentence creates an outcome, but because words shape the atmosphere inside you and the relationships around you. Stop repeating that you are ruined behind, unlucky, or impossible to love. Those sentences train your attention to look only for evidence of defeat. Speak truth instead. Say, I am healing. I am learning. I can make one wise decision today. I can ask for help. I can begin again. without pretending the past never happened. Use your voice carefully with others too. Speak healing where gossip would be easier. Speak clarity where resentment would prefer silence. Speak gratitude before regret has the chance to teach you what you should have said. Do not use spiritual language to avoid difficult truth. If something hurts, say it with respect. If something matters, say it while there is still time. My beloved child, part of your calling is becoming someone whose words carry honesty and kindness together. And do not rush what is growing. You have spent enough seasons thinking delay meant failure. Some things need roots before they can carry weight. A garden does not become fruitful because someone stands over it shouting. It needs attention, water, light, pruning, and time. Your healing is similar. Your confidence is returning. Your sense of purpose is returning. Let them become strong before you demand that they become impressive. There will be days when you feel powerful and days when you feel ordinary. Both can belong to a meaningful life. Do not become addicted to emotional highs. You do not need to feel inspired every morning to live faithfully. Sometimes calling looks like doing the next responsible thing while your feelings are quiet. Paying the bill, keeping the appointment, finishing the work, calling your family. Resting before you become depleted. Prayerfully making one decision instead of imagining 20 futures. My beloved child, reclaiming your life does not mean controlling it. It means becoming available to what is yours to carry and willing to release what is not. Your peace keeps you grounded. Your strength helps you endure without becoming hard. Your calling turns what you have learned outward so that pain does not end with you. And as you become quieter inside, memories may begin visiting you differently. Dreams may feel vivid. A face you miss may appear in your sleep. An old song or familiar place may stir emotion you thought had settled. Do not be afraid when that happens. You do not need to chase every image or turn every dream into a command. Next, my beloved child, I want to show you how to let dreams and memories comfort you without allowing them to pull you back into fear, obsession, or the belief that you must decode every feeling before you can keep moving forward. My beloved child, now that your heart is becoming quieter, dreams and memories may begin to feel stronger again. A face may appear while you sleep. A place you have not thought about in years may suddenly return with surprising detail. You may wake with tears on your face and wonder why the moment felt so real. Do not be afraid of that tenderness. Your mind and heart are still learning how to hold what mattered without turning every memory into another wound. Grief often continues speaking while the body rests. During the day, you can stay busy. You answer messages, finish tasks, drive through traffic, and keep moving. At night, the walls become quiet, and what you pushed aside may rise. A dream can gather pieces of memory, longing, fear, and love into one scene. My beloved child, you do not need to decide immediately what every dream means. Let it be what it is first, a moment your heart experienced while it was resting. There may be dreams where the person you miss looks healthy, peaceful, or familiar. You may hear their voice exactly as you remember it. You may wake with warmth, sadness, or both. Receive the comfort if comfort is what remains. You do not need to build a prediction around it. You do not need to search for hidden numbers, secret dates, or instructions. If the dream leads you toward gratitude, prayer, forgiveness, or peace, let that good fruit remain, without forcing the moment to become more than it was. Scripture shows that dreams sometimes matter deeply, but it also teaches wisdom testing, patience, and humility. Joseph received dreams, yet his life still required years of faithfulness, suffering, discernment, and responsibility. My beloved child, even when something feels meaningful, you are still called to live wisely when morning comes. A dream should not replace truth. It should not replace scripture, counsel, character, or the responsibilities already in your hands. Sometimes a dream may disturb you instead of comfort you. You may wake frightened, guilty, or convinced that something bad is about to happen. Before you let fear take control, slow down. Breathe. Remind yourself that dreams can reflect stress, grief, exhaustion, old memories, and things your mind has been processing. You do not have to obey every image your sleeping mind produces. Bring the fear to me and ask for peace before you decide what deserves your attention. My beloved child, memories work in a similar way. You can walk into a grocery store and hear a song that takes you back 20 years. You can open a drawer and find a handwritten note You can smell coffee prepared in a certain way and suddenly remember a morning you thought you had forgotten. These moments can feel powerful because love was tied to ordinary details. Let them remind you that a life mattered. Do not let them convince you that you must stop your own life to keep that connection alive. You may want to preserve some memories intentionally. Write down stories while you remember them. Save a recipe. Record the funny things they used to say. Tell younger family members about the kindness they showed or the mistakes they learned from. My beloved child, remembrance can become an act of gratitude. It does not have to become an endless search for signs. You can honor someone by telling the truth about their life and allowing the best of what they gave you to keep serving others. There is another kind of memory I want you to notice. The painful one, the argument, the hospital room, the moment the phone rang, the image you wish would stop returning. Sometimes grief attaches itself to the hardest scene and makes that scene feel larger than the entire relationship. My beloved child, do not let one painful chapter erase years of ordinary love. When that memory comes, gently remind yourself of another one, a meal, a laugh, a drive, a quiet afternoon. Let the whole story become larger than the ending. The psalmist often remembered past faithfulness when the present felt dark. Memory became a way of restoring perspective. You can do something similar. When your mind says, "All I have is loss," remember what you received. When fear says love always ends in pain, remember the years when love brought joy, support, teaching, and belonging. Memory can deepen sorrow, but it can also restore gratitude when you allow it to carry more than one emotion. My beloved child, be careful not to make yourself responsible for interpreting everything. You do not need to spend hours searching the internet for the meaning of a feather, a number, a color, or a face in a dream. If that search leaves you more anxious, step away. Peace does not need obsession to survive. What is worth carrying will remain meaningful even after you stop analyzing it. Let time test what feels important. You can create a simple practice when a dream or memory stirs you. Pause. Name what you feel. Thank me for what was good. Admit what still hurts. Ask what wise action belongs to today. Then return to your life. Maybe the action is calling someone you love. Maybe it is forgiving. Maybe it is resting. Maybe there is no action beyond allowing yourself to feel the moment and then continuing your morning. My beloved child, this is how dreams and memories become companions instead of masters. They can visit without directing every decision. They can bring tears without destroying the day. They can remind you of love without convincing you that the past is where you belong. You are learning to carry memory in one hand and the future in the other. You may also discover that some memories become softer when you stop resisting them. The photograph that once made you leave the room may eventually make you smile. The anniversary that once felt impossible may become a day for prayer, family, and gratitude. Do not demand that this happen quickly. Let healing choose its pace. My beloved child, your progress is not measured by how rarely you remember. It is measured by how freely you can remember without losing yourself. And something beautiful begins to happen when fear loosens its grip. You become able to speak about what you survived without being swallowed by it. You notice other people who carry the same quiet look you once carried. You recognize grief in someone who says they are fine. You understand why a person may need patience instead of advice. What once felt like private pain begins giving you compassion that can serve another life. That is where we are going next, my beloved child. Your healing was never meant to turn you inward forever. The wisdom, tenderness, patience, and courage you have gained can become shelter for someone who is still standing in a storm you now understand. You do not have to become a hero. You only have to become available. Next, I will show you how survival can become purpose without turning your pain into a performance, and how your story can help someone else breathe without requiring you to relive every wound. My beloved child, you have learned how to let memories visit without allowing them to rule you. And now I want to show you what can happen when healing begins to move outward. Pain can turn a person inward for a long time. That is understandable. When you are trying to survive, you do not always have strength to carry anyone else. But there comes a season when what you learned in darkness can become light for someone who is still trying to find their way through it. You do not need to become an expert in grief. You do not need a perfect testimony. You do not need to stand in front of a crowd and explain every wound. My beloved child, purpose often begins much closer than that. It begins when you notice the person who is unusually quiet. It begins when you recognize the tired eyes behind a polite smile. It begins when you choose to listen instead of rushing to give advice. What you survived can make you more present if you let compassion grow where bitterness once tried to live. There are people around you carrying losses you know nothing about. Someone is driving home after receiving news that changed everything. Someone is sitting beside an empty chair. Someone is paying bills alone for the first time. Someone is pretending to be strong because they do not know how to tell their family they are exhausted. My beloved child, you may never know the full story behind another person's silence. Your gentleness may matter more than you realize. Paul wrote that comfort received from God can become comfort offered to others. That does not mean you must reopen every wound whenever someone needs help. It means the mercy you have received can shape the way you respond. You know now that a grieving person may not need a lecture. They may need someone to sit with them. You know that saying "be strong" can sometimes make a hurting person feel more alone. You know the value of a simple sentence like "I am here," and you do not have to explain everything. My beloved child, let your survival become wisdom, not performance. You do not have to make pain the center of your identity in order to help anyone. Your story is not valuable because it was dramatic. It is valuable because you learned something true. Maybe you learned to ask for help sooner. Maybe you learned that people need love spoken while there is still time. Maybe you learned that boundaries can save a relationship from resentment. Maybe you learned that rest is necessary when grief makes the body heavy. Share what is useful, not what keeps you trapped. There may be someone who needs to hear that healing is not betrayal. You can tell them that laughter can return without erasing love. Someone may need to hear that guilt is not the same as responsibility. Someone may need permission to clean out a room, give away belongings, or keep them longer without shame. Someone may need to know that a difficult anniversary does not mean they have returned to the beginning. My beloved child, your lived experience can become language for people who cannot yet find their own. But be careful. Helping others can become another way to avoid yourself. You may start rescuing everyone because being needed makes you feel safe. You may pour into strangers while ignoring your own exhaustion. You may tell yourself that purpose means always being available. That is not what I am asking from you. Jesus served deeply, but he also withdrew. He rested. He prayed. He did not meet every demand placed before him. My beloved child, service without boundaries eventually becomes another form of self-abandonment. So give from a place that has room. If you are tired, rest. If someone's story is too close to your own wound today, you can step back. If you do not know what to say, do not pretend. Sometimes the most faithful response is, "I do not have the answer, but I can sit with you." Purpose does not require pretending to possess wisdom you have not been given. Humility makes compassion safer. You may also serve through ordinary work. A nurse can carry patients into a frightening room. A teacher can notice the student who has withdrawn. A manager can lead without humiliating people. A parent can break a family pattern by apologizing when wrong. A friend can answer the phone. A neighbor can bring food. My beloved child, do not wait for a dramatic calling before you become useful. Love becomes visible through small acts that respect another person's dignity. And sometimes your purpose will simply be to share your story at the right moment. Not every detail, not with everyone, but enough truth to help someone know they are not alone. You can say, "I went through a season when I thought I would never feel like myself again." You can say, "I learned that grief comes in waves." You can say, "I had to stop blaming myself." The point is not to make the conversation about you. The point is to offer a bridge. My beloved child, there is something powerful about discovering that what nearly convinced you your life was over can deepen the way you live it. Not because pain was good, not because tragedy had to happen, but because pain does not get to decide that nothing meaningful can grow afterward. You can refuse to romanticize suffering while still allowing courage, patience, wisdom, and compassion to grow in its aftermath. This is how the storm becomes shelter for someone else. Not because you control the weather, but because you remember what it felt like to stand in the rain without an umbrella. You know where people become frightened. You know what empty encouragement sounds like. You know that presence often matters more than explanation. My beloved child, what you learned can make you a safer person. Do not underestimate that. Even quiet compassion can become an answer to another person's lonely prayer. There are people who will never know the nights you survived, but they may experience the kindness those nights taught you. They may never hear the full story of the person you lost, but they may receive patience because that loss taught you how precious time is. They may never know how close you came to giving up, but they may find courage because you chose to stay present. And as you begin serving this way, your calling will become clearer. Your voice will matter more because it has been tested by honesty. You will know which parts of your story are meant to be shared and which parts can remain sacred. You will learn when to speak, when to listen, and when silence itself is an act of love. My beloved child, you survived for more than endless recovery. You are still healing, but you are also becoming available. Next, I want to show you how to use your voice with courage and humility, and how to step into your calling without turning your story into a performance. My beloved child, you have begun to understand that what you survived can become shelter for someone else. Now, I want to bring you one step further. There is a truth in you that fear has kept quiet for too long. It is time to stop hiding behind silence. Truth becomes lighter when you stop carrying it alone and begin living it faithfully. I am not asking you to become loud. I am asking you to become honest. There is a difference. Loudness tries to prove something. Truth simply stands. My beloved child, your voice does not need to dominate a room to matter. It needs to become clear enough that fear can no longer edit every sentence before it leaves your mouth. You need to tell someone that a boundary has been crossed. You need to admit that you are tired. You need to say that a relationship cannot continue in the same way. You need to ask for help without turning the request into an apology. You need to tell someone you love them while there is still time. My beloved child, calling often begins with the courage to speak one honest sentence where silence has been costing you peace. Remember Jeremiah. He felt young, uncertain, and unprepared for the words placed in his care. Yet the answer was not that he needed to become impressive first. He needed to go where he was sent and speak what was true. My beloved child, you may also feel unqualified. You may think someone more polished, more confident, or less wounded should do what is in front of you. But usefulness does not begin with perfection. It begins with willingness, humility, and the courage to keep learning. Your calling may involve your work. It may involve family service, creativity, leadership, encouragement, teaching, caregiving, or simply becoming the kind of person who brings steadiness into chaotic spaces. Do not reduce calling to a platform. Some of the most important assignments never receive public recognition. A father who ends a pattern of anger is living a calling. A woman who cares for an aging parent with patience is living a calling. A friend who tells the truth gently when everyone else stays silent is living a calling. My beloved child, you have spent enough time waiting to feel completely ready. Readiness is often built after movement begins. The first conversation may feel awkward. The first attempt may be imperfect. The first time you share something honest, your voice may shake. Do not confuse trembling with failure. Courage is not the absence of discomfort. Courage is choosing truth while discomfort is still present. And be careful not to turn your story into a performance. You do not owe everyone access to your deepest wounds. Not every painful detail needs to become public. Wisdom decides what should be shared with whom and for what purpose. If telling a story helps another person breathe, it may be worth sharing. If telling it only keeps you emotionally trapped in the worst day of your life, you may need more healing before you make it a message. My beloved child, sacred things deserve discernment. There is power in testimony, but the power is not in making yourself the hero. The power is in telling the truth about what you learned, where you needed grace, where people helped you, and how faith carried you when your own strength was not enough. Paul did not hide his weakness. He learned that grace could meet him there. My beloved child, honesty about limitation can sometimes reach people more deeply than a polished story about constant victory. You may also have an idea you have delayed, a project, a business, a ministry, a creative work, a conversation you keep imagining but never begin. Ask yourself whether fear is calling delay wisdom. Have you actually been waiting for the right time, or have you been waiting to become impossible to criticize? That day will not come. Anything meaningful can be misunderstood. Your responsibility is not to control every reaction. Your responsibility is to act with integrity. Start small, write the first page, make the call, send the application. Ask the question, practice the skill, offer to help, record the idea before another month passes. My beloved child, calling becomes clearer when it meets action. You do not need to know where one faithful step will lead before taking it. You need enough clarity to know that the step itself is responsible, honest, and consistent with what you value. Your voice will also need restraint. Knowing when not to speak is part of wisdom. Not every accusation deserves an answer. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every person who doubts you needs evidence. Jesus sometimes answered directly, and sometimes he remained silent. My beloved child, maturity is not saying everything you could say. It is knowing which words serve truth and which words only feed conflict. Ask me to guide your speech. Before an important conversation, slow down. Pray, God, help me say what is true without using truth as a weapon. Help me listen without surrendering what I know. Help me be clear without becoming cruel. Help me stay quiet when my ego wants the last word. That kind of prayer can protect relationships and protect your own peace. And when you speak, let your life support your words. If you tell others to rest, learn to rest. If you speak about forgiveness, practice it. If you encourage boundaries, honor the boundaries of others. If you talk about faith, let your choices show patience, responsibility, and humility. My beloved child, calling becomes credible when character and message begin walking in the same direction. You are not too late. The seasons that slowed you were not empty. You learned things there. You learned what grief does to the body. You learned what silence does to the mind. You learned how betrayal changes trust. You learned that peace must be protected. You learned that love needs honesty. Those lessons can now shape how you speak and serve. But do not rush to prove that the painful years had a purpose. You do not need to justify every loss. Some things were simply painful. Some questions remain unanswered. Calling does not mean every wound was necessary. It means pain did not succeed in making you useless. My beloved child, that is the truth I want you to carry. Your voice can serve. Your experience can deepen compassion. Your work can become more honest. Your relationships can become more intentional. Your life can keep moving with meaning. And as you step more fully into that calling, remember what helped shape you. The love you received, the person you miss, the lessons they left in your hands. You are not being asked to leave love behind in order to move forward. Next, I want to show you how to carry that love without carrying the old life with it. You can honor what was released, what cannot return, and keep walking without feeling that every new step is another goodbye. My beloved child, now that you are beginning to use your voice and step into what is yours to carry, I want you to remember something. Moving forward does not require you to leave love behind. The person you miss can remain part of your story without becoming the place where your story stops. You can carry their love while releasing the version of life that can no longer return. That is not betrayal. That is maturity. That is grief becoming love with room to breathe. For a long time, part of you kept one foot in the past. You remembered the routines, the conversations, the plans that felt certain. You wondered whether accepting a different future would somehow mean admitting that the old life was truly gone. Some endings hurt because they were attached to something beautiful. But holding tightly to what cannot return does not preserve it. It only keeps your hands too full to receive what today is asking from you. There are things you may be ready to release now. A room arranged exactly as it was because changing anything felt unbearable. A message thread you read when loneliness becomes heavy. A promise you made in grief that no longer reflects wisdom. A habit of measuring every good day against the life you had before. Release does not need to happen all at once. Sometimes it happens through one choice that says, I am willing to live here in the life I actually have. My beloved child, remember Isaiah speaking of a new thing springing up. That image does not ask you to despise what came before. It asks you to notice when life is growing in a place you did not expect. New growth can appear beside old grief. Joy can return without asking memory to leave. You can honor a person you loved while becoming attentive to the people, responsibilities, and opportunities in front of you. Do not make the old life your standard for everything good. A new friendship will not sound like the old one. A future home may not feel like the home you remember. A new season of work may ask different things from you. Even your faith may feel quieter and more honest than it did before loss changed you. My beloved child, different does not automatically mean less. Sometimes different is simply the shape life takes after you have been changed. You may still feel moments when guilt returns. You laugh and suddenly think you should be sad. You enjoy a meal and remember someone who should have been there. You make a plan and feel an ache because they are not part of it. Let the ache come without giving it authority. You can say, "I wish you were here," and still keep the plan. You can miss someone and still let the day be good. Two truths can live in the same heart. My beloved child, carry their love forward in the way you live. If they taught you loyalty, become loyal without becoming trapped in unhealthy obligation. If they taught you courage, use courage to make the decision you have delayed. If they taught you tenderness, speak gently to someone who is having a hard day. If they made moments joyful, stop waiting for perfect circumstances before allowing yourself to enjoy the life around you. Love becomes a living inheritance when it changes what you do. There may also be parts of the old life that were not healthy, even if you miss them. Perhaps you were always rescuing someone. Perhaps you avoided conflict until resentment grew. Perhaps you kept your needs hidden because you were afraid of becoming difficult. Perhaps you measured your worth by how useful you were. Do not rebuild the same patterns simply because they feel familiar. You are allowed to carry the love and leave the dysfunction behind. Paul wrote about becoming new not by pretending the past never happened, but by refusing to let the old self remain the final authority. That is the invitation before you now, not to erase your history, not to become someone unrecognizable, but to let truth reshape what pain once controlled. You can become more patient without becoming passive, more open without becoming naive, more peaceful without becoming silent about what matters. My beloved child, release the old arguments you still rehearse. Release the fantasy that one explanation would have changed everything. Release the belief that you must keep suffering to prove loyalty. Release the pressure to become who you were before the loss. That person existed before you learned what you know now. You do not need to return backward. You are allowed to become someone deeper. And do not rush this release. There may be days when you put something away and then take it back out. There may be photographs you are ready to move and others you are not ready to touch. There may be traditions you want to keep and others you need to change. My beloved child, healing does not demand that every symbol of the past disappear. It asks whether the past can remain present without controlling you. Ask yourself what you want to carry forward. Choose carefully. Carry the love, carry the wisdom, carry the laughter, carry the lessons, carry the faith that helped you survive difficult nights. Carry the understanding that time is precious and people need to hear what they mean while they are still near. Those things can travel with you without keeping you tied to yesterday. Then ask what needs to stay behind. The self-blame, the chasing, the over-explaining, the fear of another goodbye, the belief that joy will always be punished, the habit of waiting for permission to live. My beloved child, these things do not honor the person you lost. They only keep your life smaller than it needs to be. Take one slow breath and imagine yourself standing at the edge of a familiar road. Behind you are the places that shaped you. Ahead of you are days you cannot yet see. You do not need to run. You do not need to know every turn. You only need to stop walking backward every time the future feels unfamiliar. I am with you here. My beloved child, the next chapter will not erase the last one. It will carry its lessons into a different landscape. You will still remember. You will still have difficult days. But memory will no longer need to pull you away from the people and responsibilities in front of you. Love will become something you carry with open hands instead of something you hold with fear. And now we are almost at the end of this journey. You have faced grief, guilt, betrayal, fear, memory, purpose, and the courage to begin again. One final thing remains. I want to show you how to return to ordinary life with faith, peace, and hope without chasing signs, forcing outcomes, or demanding certainty about tomorrow. That is where we will go next, my beloved child. Not backward, not in fear, forward gently, faithfully carrying what was true and releasing what no longer needs to follow you. My beloved child, now that you have learned to carry what was true and release what no longer needs to follow you, I want you to return to your life gently, not with pressure, not with fear that you must prove something changed. Return with faith, peace, and hope. Return knowing that healing is not a performance. It is a way of walking differently through ordinary days, one choice at a time. You may leave this moment and step back into the same room, the same responsibilities, the same unanswered questions. The bills may still be there. The empty chair may still be there. My beloved child, peace does not require all of that to disappear before it can begin. Peace can live beside uncertainty. Faith can breathe while questions remain. Hope can grow before the future explains itself. That is what I want you to remember when life becomes loud again. You do not need to chase another sign every time you feel unsure. You do not need to force an answer out of silence. You do not need to search every dream or memory for hidden instructions. Bring your heart back to me. Bring it back to truth. Bring it back to Scripture, prayer-wise counsel, and the next responsible thing before you. Jesus told his disciples not to let their hearts remain troubled, as if fear had the final word. He did not promise them a life without sorrow. He gave them a deeper place to stand. My beloved child, that is the kind of faith I want for you now. Not faith that denies pain, but faith that refuses to let pain become your language. Not faith that controls tomorrow, but faith that trusts me enough to live today with honesty. There will still be moments when grief returns unexpectedly. A birthday, a holiday, a familiar street, a phrase someone says without knowing what it awakens in you. When that happens, do not accuse yourself of going backward. Let the memory come. Let the emotion move through you. If tears rise, let them rise. Then breathe, pray, remember what was good, and return to the life still asking for your presence. My beloved child, the person you loved can remain important without becoming the center of every future decision. Honor them by living what love taught you. Be present with the people who are still here. Say thank you sooner. Apologize when pride wants to wait. Rest before exhaustion makes you harsh. Give attention where it matters. Protect your peace without becoming cold. Let memory make you more grateful and more willing to use your days well. You have spent this journey looking honestly at grief, betrayal, guilt, fear, unhealthy connections, unfinished goodbyes, and the parts of yourself that disappeared under pressure. You also discovered something else. You are still capable of love. You are still capable of wisdom. You are still capable of beginning again. Do not treat those discoveries as small. They show pain did not receive the final word over who you are becoming. There may be people who need the steadier version of you emerging now. Not a perfect version, a present version. A father who listens before reacting. A friend who does not rush to fix every tear. A coworker who chooses integrity when cutting corners would be easier. A son or daughter who finally makes the call. A person who decides not to pass suffering forward. These quiet choices are part of how hope becomes visible. And if you feel tired, rest. Do not turn this message into another demand. You do not have to wake tomorrow and transform every area of your life before breakfast. Choose one faithful step. Let your next step be simple, faithful, grounded, and open to the grace present. One conversation, one boundary, one task, one prayer, 1 hour of real rest. A peaceful life is rarely built through one dramatic decision. It is built through small decisions that stop feeding what destroys peace and protect what gives life. Remember the words about new mercies arriving with the morning. That image reminds you not to carry tomorrow before it arrives. Today has enough weight. Let tomorrow meet you when it comes. When morning arrives, ask what is yours to do. When evening comes, release what remains unfinished. You are not stronger because you worry all night. You are stronger when you place what you cannot control into my hands. My beloved child, stay close to people who help you. Remain honest. Stay close to communities where faith is not used to silence pain. Stay close to people who can pray with you and tell you when you need rest, counsel, accountability, or practical help. You were never meant to heal inside complete isolation. Even strong people need companionship. Even wise people need correction. Even faithful people need someone beside them when words are not enough. If this journey has given language to something you carried quietly, let gratitude become generosity in a healthy form. Encourage someone. Share hope with a grieving friend. Support work that helps people if you choose but never believe money, clicks, comments, or staying connected can purchase blessing, protection, healing, or an answer from heaven. My love is not sold. Grace is not a transaction. You may stay connected to reflections like this if they help you slow down, pray, and remember what matters. Let that choice remain free. Let faith remain free from superstition. My beloved child, I want your trust rooted deeper than an algorithm or dramatic promise, rooted in truth, rooted in the character of Christ, rooted in the steady work of becoming more loving, honest, patient, and responsible. Now take one last slow breath. You do not need to chase what is ahead. You do not need to force what is not ready. You do not need to return to what broke your peace simply because it is familiar. Walk forward with trust. Walk forward with humility. Walk forward with courage that needs no applause. Carry the love. Carry the lessons and wisdom. Leave behind the self-punishment, the endless replaying, the fear that joy will always be taken from you. My beloved child, your story is still moving. Some chapters will be bright, some will be difficult, some will make sense only after time has passed. But you do not have to understand every chapter before you live it faithfully. So return to your life now. Call the person, finish the task, drink the water, rest your body, say the prayer, keep the boundary, tell the truth, receive the good, without demanding that it last forever. And when the day becomes heavy again, remember this: you are not required to carry everything at once. You are allowed to walk slowly. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to grieve and still hope. I am with you in the ordinary. I am with you in the silence. I am with you as you begin again. Go with faith, my beloved child. Go with peace. Go with hope. And let tomorrow find you still willing to live, love, serve, rest, and trust.